proud to be sponsored by Diamond Bright, the car care products that have been keeping the furious fleet looking their best for a long time already. To find all you need to keep your car clean and protected, follow the link below to diamondbright.co.uk. Hello, welcome to Furious Driving, and today I'm here in the drive with two cars, which is the introduction I've just done for that car as well. So basically what I'm trying to do in between various rainstorms and showers at the moment, I'm trying to get that car welded and put back together again, and that car ready for the NEC, because it's now only about a week until I head off to Birmingham ahead of the show to set up, and the plan currently is to take the 420 GSi Tourer, which I mentioned when we were talking about the competition. Incidentally, the competition has now been drawn. The winner has been contacted. If you haven't heard back from me, then thank you so much for entering. Really do appreciate it. Sorry you didn't win, but do head over to the NEC website linked below and use the discount code Furious Driving to get a couple of pounds off each ticket regardless, and do come along and say hello anyway. The plan is now to get this car to the NEC. If this doesn't work, then I'm going to have a rapid plan B, and I'm not quite sure what it will be, because we've shown the Crown Vic, we've shown the Volvo. I need something old enough to be a classic, big enough to hold everything that I'm taking for the 3 days at the event, and that does limit it to really only about half the cars on the fleet. And this is the ideal one because it's an interesting car. It's incredibly rare. I think, I can't remember the numbers now. I did check on how many left a little while ago, and there are something like under 10 of the 400 Tourers left actually on the road at the moment. It's a ridiculously low number. This car is not the prettiest, but it's a very solid car. But what I need to do is make sure it's actually going to make it all the way to Birmingham, not leave me stranded on the side of the M40 in the rain. I need to redo that bit of welding which I plugged on in the rain for the MOT earlier in the year. I need to make sure it's got oil in it, because I've never done an oil change in this car. Make sure everything else is running. When I was driving it back from the lockup yesterday, the wiper blade, I did actually fit the wiper blades myself. I hadn't clicked it in place properly, and the wiper blade fell off. So just making sure there's nothing going to catch me out. I'll be driving it around as much as possible for the next few days. So first off, get the oil out, get that done. Look underneath it. I might do a bit of rust proofing on it so I can take it up and down and use it in the winter perhaps, because it's a fun car. I hesitate to say it's a T-Series that doesn't leak, because it does leak a bit. They all do. But, you know, it's not as bad as some. Right, let's do some work. Okay, the first thing we're going to do on the old 420 Tourer, give it some fresh oil, because it's been sat in that engine quite a long time. I don't remember if I changed the oil when I bought it nearly a year ago, and it's done virtually no miles since then. I drove it home from Cambridgeshire and then used it a week or two, got it to the MOT, and it's basically been parked ever since because the tail lights went. So I've got it jacked up, and we're using those special Draper hockey puck things that let you jack up on the sill without damaging it. We've got a jack stand under there for safety. I've just slackened it off with the big breaker bar, and I was going to go under and say this is that most unique and rare of things, a T-Series engine that's not dropping oil everywhere. However, it is quite oily underneath there regardless, so it's good rust prevention. That's what I'm going to call that. Yeah, I honestly could not remember whether or not I'd changed the oil on this car, but looking at that oil filter there, that looks like it's well and truly caked in oil and not that fresh, so definitely a good thing to be getting this changed. Always interesting to see what state the oil's in when it comes out the bottom. So I've run this car a while actually to let it warm the oil, thin it out a bit, and I didn't drop the sump plug. Hooray! And a little trick, if you want to make sure you get all of the oil out, is just lower it off the jack again, because it's tipping the wrong way to drain it. So I've lowered the thing down for a minute. Well, that came off surprisingly easily. Well, it's nice. This was a Bosch filter before. Oh god, that's not pleasant. Oh. There we go, a fresh Wix filter going on there. The cheapest and best preventative maintenance you can do to any car is literally that. You know, I always mess up pouring the oil in, so I'm going to use a cheat, which is a little special oil funnel which I got a while ago for specifically this purpose. I'm only using Halford's own brand, which I'll be honest, is pretty decent stuff. I use it a lot, never had an issue with it. So I change my oil fairly frequently anyway, so see, I'm using this funnel. I'm actually getting a really good, nice accurate pour. It's not even touching the sides of it. It's quite gusty though, so I'm waiting for that gust of wind that sucks it sideways 4 meters, decorates the front of the house. And the stuff that came out was thick and black and very horrible, so it's definitely overdue for a change. It also didn't look quite high enough for the, I think it's 4 or so litres that this car should have in it. Looks good on the dipstick with it cold. Coolant looked a little bit low on the line, so I've put some of the correct stuff in there as well. So far this has cost me £25 for the oil with my Halford's trade card, £6 for the filter, so 30 quid, and a little stash of that which I had in the garage anyway, so 30 quid for making this car run and drive. Let's just fire it up, make sure it's all good. And let the oil circulate and make sure everything under the engine bay is looking good. While that's all warming up, let's have a quick look around the engine bay, make sure there's nothing else to be concerned about. Now, I am seeing a little bit of pink residue down there and some pink residue down there, and that is going to be coolant, which is coming out in a way that it shouldn't do. I think probably it's going to be this pipe just here, which does not look particularly healthy the way it's bulging out like that. So perhaps I should see if I can find a new one of those. Anything else looking not too clever? Now the rest don't look too bad. Those fixings look horrible. I don't want to mess with that if I can avoid that for the time being. I'm confused where pink coolant will be coming from over here, because there's no waterways in this area here. The radiator has been mashed a little bit, but yeah, it's not leaking, it just looks like it's not going to be doing a very good job, so I do need to replace that at some point. Oh, that's useful, I hadn't noticed that before. Timing belt replaced at 81,630. The car is now on 129,000, so that's pushing, well, 45, 50,000 miles, so it's definitely time to get that done as soon as we can, really. Anything else under here causing concern? These HT leads look pretty horrible. I'm not sure what a set of HTs. That's interesting. The cover literally goes around the screws. The HT needs to do a bit of a clean up. I'll get some brake and clutch on that, because that cannot be a good thing for that to be quite as grotty as that. Well, that went well. Okay, just looking where the ramp shot through and bashed this, and that's one way of finding out you've got a rusty bit of sill in there, because that is all crusted off. It was solid at the beginning of the year, it's not solid anymore, so I'm going to have to grind that back, do a bit of welding on this side as well. Was not expecting that. Lucky I started a week early. Well, with that big square panel taken off the bottom, you can see it looks fairly clean inside. There is some surface rust on that back panel, which is the thicker of the bits of metal. This bottom bit is fairly thin actually, but that's clean metal. What I'll do now is I'll undercoat it with some rust proofing undercoat, and you can see here on the panel I've cut out, it was going rusty for a long time from the inside. The outside looked pretty decent. It wasn't until I put a heavy wire brush on it the holes were revealed, but on the inside it was rotting away unseen for who knows how long. So let's dose this up with as much of the rust proofing undercoat as we possibly can. The same stuff we've been using on the W123. It's related to Bulldog, so I think it's pretty decent stuff. Give it a fighting chance of not rusting again anytime soon. Right, now cardboard aided design time. I've transferred the shape of the hole to the cardboard, and I've marked out this line which we're going to put a fold in from the flat to the vertical to give it extra strength, and I've transferred that to the metal as well. So let's cut this out, and boom, by the magic of video, it's clamped to the bottom of the car, ready to be zapped into place. Now I was going to say, it goes without saying, that before you do any welding you always disconnect the battery, but since I'm saying it anyway, it doesn't go without saying, but always do that so you don't have any explosions on your hands. Tack welded it in place, then went back and seam welded the whole lot, and it actually looks really rather good now. I did have to build a windbreak out of cardboard and axle stands because I was losing the gas off the thing. Now I'm just going to tidy it up with a grind disc and then put some more of the rust killing undercoat, and boom, there we have it, looking very nice indeed. That is a massive hole. It's as long as a hammer, to give you some sense of scale and perspective here. So yeah, that is now solid down the side, and I've had a good old tap of this metal and it feels like it's pretty solid. So what I'm going to try and do is take these sill plates out, see if I can get a wax injectory thing in there. Okay, so we've got a hole just there. We're going to leave one of these out and have a hole just there. And we've got a sizable hole just there, so we can squirt some wax oil into these sills now, or this sill anyway, because this one's done, and stop it rusting out from the inside anymore. Now, while I've been tidying up, I've been soaking my wax oil in a bucket of hot water to make it come out more easily, make it more thin, using wax oil left over from the Crown Vic on the shuts gun here, and I've got Tetra shuts that's been sat in the garage for a long time to get used up. I did have a minor mishap just here. The shuts gun just came off the can, and I've just wax oiled and rust proofed the manhole cover. That's not going to rust anytime soon, but I've also just made a right mess of one of my favourite buckets. Bad times. Now we can go in through this access hole that was drilled in by Rover. I've also going to drill an extra hole or two along under here, and I'll drill an extra hole or two along here just to make sure I've got access to all areas. Well, it's finally got late and I've had to give up and call it a day for today, and the weather's turned pretty nasty as well, so I'm sat in the Rover in the dark with the wind blowing horrifically strongly around it. But I've achieved quite a lot today, but it was nothing that I was expecting to though. I thought I would go in, do an oil change, quickly sort out the little scruffy bit of welding I previously did on this driver's side, and then get underneath the car and do a full underbody inspection, which is why I was driving on the ramps in the first place. But no, then we found that horrible bit of rust, which at least is now done. I know the passenger side is, well, I thought it was solid. Now I know it's solid, and it's fully wax oiled down that sill as well. So good times in that respect. The car now does stink of cutting, welding, grinding and wax, which is interesting. I might have to put an air freshener or two in here. So today has not gone as planned at all. This wasn't meant to be a two-part getting the car ready for the NEC video selection, but guess what? It just turned into one because I need to come back to, well, in daylight again and get back underneath the car and complete my inspection of the thing to make sure it's all good. I think it will be, but you know, it's better safe than sorry, as they say. Anyway, if you want to come see the car at the NEC, don't forget to use the discount code FuriousDriving in the link below. If you want to grab yourself a hat, a mug, a t-shirt, all the rest, furiousdriving.co.uk or Redbubble if you're not in the UK or haven't got the items you want in stock. What else was I going to say? Oh yeah, if you want to find any of the tools I've been using, the Amazon link in the description below as well. Anyway, the other thing I was going to say, like, subscribe, all that usual stuff. This is the end of the video roundup credits. But this car is getting better and better, so hopefully by the time I finish faffing around with it tomorrow, it's going to be all good. And you can come and see it at the NEC this time, well, almost this time next week. Thanks for watching, and join me again very soon when I'll be getting more frustrated with this car yet again. Goodbye.